Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. And be sure to leave your comment. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. Before we go forward, let's go back. Drew Brees
All
finally
right.
did, in fact, announce his retirement. So I'll just put this on a tee for you.
Yes.
How do you encapsulate what Drew Brees meant not only to the Saints, but also the city, the state, the region?
And the NFL, I would say, when you said not only, I thought I'll go even further because that was sort of my takeaway with him. The analysis I wrote on him is that anybody, when they retire from anything, they want to leave their mark on their sport, their craft, their profession, leave a legacy. And with Drew Brees, you can take your pick. I mean, he what Saints football was before Drew Brees and what Saints football is now is just incredible. Anybody who's around here knows that. I had a good line from Bobby Hebert there where he said he started rooting for the Saints when he was about 8 or 9 years old. And he goes, just imagine somebody who was 8 or 9 years old when they started rooting for the Saints in 2006. And now they're an adult in the working world, and all they know is a winning football team.
Yeah.
But also, the records he broke, the numbers he put up define that era of football, of pass-heavy football, but he did it like no one else with all those 5,000-yard seasons. And then shorter quarterbacks. Russell Wilson considers him a hero. He used to wear a Saints hat around college and has always held him in the highest esteem. And then Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray going number one in the draft. I mean, he changed the perception of what a short quarterback could do, and all the things he overcame, not getting recruited, the shoulder surgery. I mean, he's got a list of legacies and marks that he's left on the game.
We will commemorate Drew Brees' career in these parts forever, no doubt, and certainly will await his induction into Canton 5 years from now. But Drew Brees is gone, and that means the franchise must move forward. Does signing Jameis Winston mean that any possibility of a deal with the Seahawks for Russell Wilson is dead?
No, not dead. Certainly not signing him to a one-year deal that just had $5.5 million guaranteed. I mean, the Saints will continue to explore all options. They will consider the draft as well. The only problem is they just don't really have good ammunition to get Russell Wilson or a draft pick. I mean, it's a long reach to say that the Seahawks are actually going to be willing to trade Russell Wilson. It's an even longer stretch for me to think they're going to trade him to the team as the 28th pick in the draft and no young quarterback to offer. So, I mean, it would have to get to the point where it's sort of like the Anthony Davis Lakers deal, and it's like they're only allowed to negotiate with one team. So I think a lot would have to happen. But of course, the Saints would do it. The Saints know that the quarterback position is important. They will consider any upgrade that they can get in a trade like that, and they will consider moving up to the draft. They just, they don't have a smooth path to get a Russell Wilson or a top 10 pick right now.
Why do you think, in your bold prediction, that Jameis Winston not only becomes a starter but wins a playoff game?
Well, I think whoever starts for this team has a chance to win a playoff game. It's a really talented roster, even with the cuts they made. You're still talking about a team that has, 5 or 6 or 7 top 100 players in this league. Routinely, when people have ranked, different stat services have ranked the best rosters in the league, the Saints have been 1 or 2 for a number of years, and it has not just relied on the quarterback position. They're a good running team. They've got a good offensive line. They've got a good defense. They've got one of the best receivers in the league. So, any quarterback has a chance to thrive here, and I think Jameis Winston can be good. I don't consider him a sure thing. I think it will be a legitimate competition where he has to beat out Taysom Hill. But, the opportunity for success is definitely here, and Jameis Winston, I think, is a talented quarterback who just needs to have somebody who can channel it, and he's in the right place for somebody to be able to help him channel it.
Mike Triplett's with us. He's on Twitter at MikeTriplettESPN.com. So with the cuts that you mentioned, and then obviously with Trey Hendrickson signing with Cincinnati, if it's Quan Alexander, Janoris Jenkins, talking about the defensive side of the ball, where is the biggest hole right now as free agency begins?
Well, I think it's two. I think it's wide receiver where they let Emmanuel Sanders go, and cornerback where they let Janoris Jenkins go. I think you could also say linebacker, the hole that they tried to fill with Quan Alexander, and they're going to let Alex Anzalone go. Yeah, pass rusher. I mean, you do need three of them. I think Marcus Davenport has to step up, but a third one wouldn't hurt. So I think they have to replace all those bodies, whether it's through the draft or through free agents. And I think because everybody's feeling this squeeze, I think they will sign one or two veterans, and they might sign one or two veterans who are at or near the level of Emmanuel Sanders and Janoris Jenkins. So we might be feeling even better about this roster a month from now, and certainly after the draft, feeling even a little better about it then. So, it's squeezed, and they don't have the depth that they had before, but it's still going to be a pretty talented roster.
Tom Pelissero mentioned that the Saints are one of the teams interested in Richard Sherman. There's obviously the Chris Richard tie in there. Does that make sense for New Orleans?
Sure. And if it's not him, there was another report of the cornerback who just signed in Cincinnati. I mean, like I said, I think guys like Jenkins and Sanders, who are scheduled to make $11 and $8 million, are probably going to be signing for like $4 and $6 million, and then guys who would normally make $4 or $6 million might be signing for $2 million or the veteran minimum. So I think the Saints will identify. I think we're going to see them add guys at those positions probably who have started a number of games in this league, and who make you think, wow, I didn't even think about that guy. He could be really good here. And Richard Sherman is the perfect example of the type of guy that could be available for a more affordable price than you think. I mean, obviously, the dream scenario down here would be Patrick Peterson, but I think, guys of that level will still get hefty price tags, but, everything's on the table right now.
Mike, Saints, according to Spot Track, are about $6.4 million still over the cap, even after the Teron Armstead restructure. What else do they have to do to get to that? Or I guess maybe that's before they consider Armstead, but what else do they still have to do to get within cap compliance?
Yeah, and I think Armstead, I'd have to look at their website for sure to know which moves they've accounted for. But where I've been trying to keep up with the math and using the ESPN's tools, if they do the restructure with Teron Armstead, I think that could create $7.5 million.
Okay, that would do it.
Add, depending on the number of void years they add. They have not officially released Malcolm Brown yet. It's a move we anticipate because it had been reported. And then, Jameis Winston's not officially on the books yet, but everyone's calculating what it'll be when he's on the books. But if you add all those up together, even with Jameis Winston's new deal, if they release Malcolm Brown, if they restructure Teron Armstead to the max, then they're under the cap as of tomorrow. The next step is if they are going to sign a couple guys like, Richard Sherman or bring back that level of guy, then there's other moves that they are still going to have to make. And it's great. It would be great to say, oh, well, they should just sign extensions with Marshawn Lattimore and Ryan Ramczyk and Marcus Williams and create some cap room in that way. But those are the kind of negotiations that sometimes take months and are a little harder to do. So I don't know that they can just snap their fingers and make those moves.
Well, as you and I are talking, Twitter has broken some news.
Oh,
the Saints have traded Malcolm Brown to the Jaguars.
There we go.
To the Jaguars. Ian Rappaport.
That makes sense. That was sort of my suspicion for why that move had not yet become official, was that they were still hoping to get a draft pick. So that's a guy they were planning to possibly release if they were not able to trade him. So even though I don't expect the compensation to be very high, that has to be considered a win for them.
So I'm interested though, Mike, because defensive tackle is a spot where the Saints need another starter on the interior. So now does that just become more of an emphasis in free agency, or are you looking draft for another starter?
And nose tackle is not traditionally a position they've invested heavily in. Malcolm Brown actually represented kind of a hike for them. As valuable as it is, as good as their run defense has been, one of the best in the NFL in recent years, that's a position where Malcolm Brown was only playing 50% of the snaps, sometimes in games 35% of the snaps as a nose tackle. So I'm not trying to diminish him by saying he's easily replaceable, but that's a position where they could probably fill it with a rotating number of bodies like Shai Tuttle, like Malcolm Roach, maybe a veteran, maybe another draft pick, and fill it out that way. They probably will be replacing Sheldon Rankins as well, though. who rotated in at the 3 technique with David Onyemata. So, they're going to need more than just what they have now. But I think they'll do that through rotation and cheaper investments.
Really good stuff up at ESPN.com right now on the Saints page from our guest Mike Triplett. Anything that we should expect in the next 24 hours or so?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have caught up on all the moves we were expecting, and they've done a few of them early now. The next big moves this offseason are, can they get long-term extensions done with those guys I mentioned before, Lattimore, Ramczyk, Marcus Williams, maybe Teron Armstead if they want to do that. I think those will be big off-season questions, but I don't think any of those ones are ones that get answered immediately unless they want to create a little cap space to make some of those new additions we were talking about.
Make sure that you're reading Mike's stuff over at ESPN.com there on the Saints page. They're grading the NFL free agent signings and trades that is there right now. Mike's column on Drew Brees is there, and what is next at quarterback for the Saints. Get there, ESPN.com. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Mike Triplett. Mike, we always appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.